there. Welcome. Come on in and get yourself nice and uncomfortable. And how are you today? Well, I have to say I have been dying to meet you ever since I heard about you. A mortal who is so bad. They deserve a shot at a job down here. Exquisite. So, as you can imagine, we have many bureaucrats down here, and there is a process you need to go through if you would like to work here. However, it's better than being, well, one of the residents here, I suppose. What do you say? Fancy it? Well, it's your bog standard job interview. We have some questions about your core skills, some creative torture techniques you might have been thinking of, problem solving under pressure, handling difficult souls, occupational hazards, how well you'd fit into the culture and hierarchy here in hell, things like that. And then, if I'm sufficiently happy with what I've seen, I have a list of our current vacancies here in hell. There are quite a few, so you're very much in luck. Let's take a look at what we have. Yes, I have to say, based on what I've heard, you might well be our next torture logistics coordinator. However, the choice will be yours. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Before I offer you the job, let's see if you're good enough, or indeed if you're bad enough. Ready? Okay, lots of questions coming your way. If at any point you want to stop, tough, this is hell. So, question 1. What do you think your biggest strength will be in ensuring eternal suffering in the souls assigned to you? The pen doesn't work. That's standard here in hell. And nor does this one. Third time lucky. Always the way. Always pen number 3. There we go. It's like a ridiculous joke. Let's repeat the last bit of that answer. I wasn't particularly interested in the beginning. Okay. How will you maintain productivity when the damned just don't seem to be screaming as much? Describe a characteristic of yours which makes you suitable for one of these infernal positions we have available. I'd love to hear it in your own words because, as I say, the stories I've heard about you. Thinking about working with the wider hell community now, how will you ensure that you remain deeply unpopular amongst your colleagues? It's a very fine line because HR do not want to be regularly seeing you, but at the same time, you should really have, a crime sheet as long as you are. In your opinion, based on what you've seen since you've been here, what is the most efficient torture method we have? Thinking about the ways in which you would punish the souls assigned to you, and let's be honest, you've been doing that to some that haven't been assigned to you already. Moving forwards, and obviously you don't know how long you've been down here, do you? No. How will you ensure that your punishments remain creative and interesting over centuries? If you join us, you still won't get to know. It might have been 1,000 years. It might have been 5 minutes. Time works very differently down here. And finally, which of your living achievements do you find makes you the most damnable? We wondered if you'd mention that one. That's our favourite. It is. Moving on to creative torture techniques. So, if I gave you a chair, a rope, some sandwiches, and a metronome, how would you cause discomfort which would last at least a century? See, answers like that are one of the reasons that we invited you. It's amazing. Goodness. They don't make models like you very often. If you were to be successful in your application, what would be your preferred ratio of physical to emotional suffering? Just interested in seeing what sort of things you'd be getting up to. Describe your most beautiful idea for a punishment in vivid detail, please. My. Okay. What would your signature method be for drawing out regret in the damned? Oh, I can almost stop this interview now. You're going to be so popular down here. Without blowing smoke, well, you know where. I can see you rising through the ranks very quickly. all the power you'll acquire along the way. The powerful that you'll take down. Incredible. How will you keep sinners conscious as they try their best to pass out from the pain? When thinking about trying to cause the most agony, what's the smallest object you could use to achieve that? You were wasted up there. How would you punish someone who fears nothing? How would you punish yourself? Moving on. Problem solving under pressure. You are assigned 500 souls, but only 200 sets of chains. How do you maintain order? The next question is based on a real life scenario that we see all too often down here. A fellow demon keeps consuming your assigned sinners. How do you resolve? How do you escalate the conflict? Really do have that hell state of mind. Keeping up with quotas now. Some areas of hell do have them. I mean, they are well set for down here, aren't they? Your screams per hour rate drops below your quota. What steps do you take? Can't see that happening. A misguided soul claims that they've served their time here. How do you handle that appeal? Devilish. You happen to find an angel feather. Ugh. How do you dispose of it discreetly? Ugh. I apologise, we have to ask these questions. What would your emergency plan be if a holy relic appeared? Has been known to happen from time to time. Causes quite the excitement. How would you stop a sinner from escaping, and what would you do with them next? Marvellous. Well, that's all of your problem-solving questions done. Let's talk a little more about how to handle difficult souls. For some reason, we do get a lot of trouble with those who come to stay with us. Describe what methods you would use to break an especially stubborn sinner. If a soul suddenly appeared happy, how would you reignite that despair? We find more and more these days are sinners enjoying their punishment. And they really do. How would you adapt to those sinners? What is your policy on negotiating with the damned? How do you handle a soul that refuses to admit guilt? Little hint here, it's most of them. Yeah, does it really matter? What do you do with souls who keep sincerely apologizing? Would you consider continuing to punish a soul you've already broken, if only just for sport? I knew it. Next, occupational hazards. What's the longest amount of time you've ever gone without being fired? It can be, up there. Was the last time you worked? How would you respond to allegations of excessive cruelty? Ever had any experience with holy water? On-the-job training will be provided. How would you protect yourself during an unexpected exorcism attempt? It's one of those things you get better at as you go. In the early days it does sting. What would you do if you were given a soul that clearly does not belong here? one of our biggest hazards. How could you maintain your composure in the presence of a saint? We do have the odd interloper. What's your stance on overtime during various eclipses and other celestial events? Yeah, that's standard. Next, let's see how well you would fit in the culture here in hell and also the hierarchy. That's important. Any of the archdemons you'd particularly like to serve under? The dukes, the princes, anyone like that? There's more than one interested in working with you, it must be said. Well, it won't sway our decision either way. In your opinion, what's the most undervalued sin? Where do you see yourself in 500 years' time? I had a feeling you might be ambitious. Do you prefer working above ground, tempting mortals, or below, punishing souls? Having been here for some time now yourself, do you feel like any of the departments at hell require a purge? Remember, my department is of course exempt, as is HR, as is the legal department. I'll let them know you said that. Who would you like to meet? Who's your favourite historical sinner? They're all down here. They're all in excruciating pain. I can arrange that. Do you believe you could outperform me in the evil stakes? Is that so? We'll put that to the test, I think. Last section. Hypothetical scenarios. You're offered a soul's freedom in exchange for yours. What do you do? Next, two sinners are escaping. One is your superior's favourite and the other owes you a debt. Who do you stop? A cherub approaches you with an offer to defect to heaven. Ugh. What's your opening move? you find a mortal praying for redemption. They do that. What do you do? You're given the chance to destroy one virtue forever. Which is it? Interesting choice. There's a disaster in the pits, and you're only able to save one form of suffering. Which survives? You discover a fellow demon has grown fond of a soul. How do you handle that? You're told the next question you answer will decide your eternal rank. Will you answer it? Your final question. Do you have any questions for me? Well, I'm not in the mood to answer any. Remember, there are no benefits, there's no pay, there's nothing like that. But what there is power. You have passed this interview with flying colours. You have. So, step away from all of those sinners and head this way to becoming a demon. Step over this way and I'll talk you through the vacancies we currently have available. Step this way. Sorry about that, that took ages. Well, it wouldn't have felt like very long for you. It was years, but that's okay, the vacancies still stand. So my personal preference for you would be, as I said at the beginning, to become our next torture logistics coordinator. So that will be reporting to Archduke Asmodeus. Yep, you'll be expected to curate bespoke schedules for sinners, maximising emotional, physical damage that we're doing, matching victims to their worst fears, things like that. Does that sound any good? We have a position for a Scream archivist, reporting to Beelzebub, cataloguing, preserving the best screams to live in eternity. Yes, evaluating pitch volume, things like that. Emotional resonance goes into our big library. Although I do feel it'd be a bit of a waste of your skills. You want something quite entry level? We have a circle liaison manager. It's reporting to Alastor. That's coordinating inner circle relations, making sure everybody completely hates each other, ensuring sinners are properly misled before they're reassigned, thinking there's a chance for redemption when there's really nothing. You might also mediate disputes because, the lies that are told down here. Okay. There's also a position for a sin auditor, reporting to Mammon, another archduke, tallying accumulated sins of the damned, converting them into, clearly, currency if you're working for Mammon. Heading into the treasury, indeed. Were you ever creative with your accounting? If you're feeling artistic, there's a flame sculptor position available with Morlock. Just adjusting the eternal flames as necessary. Being artistic and tactically deciding who to burn and when. Hypersymmetry is important there. Okay. And finally, a memory enhancement specialist. That's reporting to Leviathan. Quite a tricky boss, however, very rewarding, very rewarding. That's enhancing the worst memories of the sinners so that they endlessly beg for deliverance. It can be fun, that one. You'll also be taught how to implant false memories, which can be fun. What do we think, though? Torture logistics? Well, as I say, it's absolutely your decision. However, there now follows a particularly lengthy, pointless, troublesome and irritating onboarding process. Yes, it does indeed last for years, and the training videos go on and on and on. At the end of it, you'll have to pass a simple multiple choice test where you have to get 100% out of 4 million questions. However, as I say, you'll have plenty of time to prepare for that. Once everything's done, onto HR, sign a few things in your blood. We'll convert you into a real-life demon, and you can begin your eternity in your new job. I look forward to seeing you rising through the ranks, and who knows, maybe one day you'll run the place. But for now, get nice and comfortable while I sort all the paperwork and bits and pieces, and in the meantime, on behalf of everybody here, welcome to hell.